And then we're gonna have to explain to Tenmyouji and Clover when they finally get to where we need them.
Open this fucking thing! I said open it, goddammit!
No, you're fine. I don't think so.
Ugh! You're gonna pay for this! When I get out of here, I'm gonna fucking end you!
I mean, that's a very real threat. Or we could just leave you in there. So, I guess we figured out who the murderer was. And we found Quark.
Now all that's left to do is find Clover and Tenmyouji.
Agreed. Yeah.
Why don't we head back to the warehouse and start from there?
That's a good point. But, real quick, I'm just curious. Really? We're still not on to the next part? Huh. Okay.
They may have already returned.
Good point.
Let's go.
Warehouse B. Huh? Looks like they aren't back yet.
Perhaps they went to look for us.
Maybe. Aw, man! No, we've gotta go looking for them.
How much time until the white doors open?
50 minutes. Okay, we still got a solid amount of time.
Then I don't think we really need to hurry yet. Why don't we wait a little longer?
That's fair.
For all we know, they're on their way back right now.
Yeah. Kay and I nodded.
By the way, there was something I wanted to ask you guys about.
Okay. Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Quark's bracelet. When we found him in the pod, he wasn't wearing it.
What if Quark's bracelet was put on Dio? Okay, but that wouldn't make sense either, would it? Because for that to happen, let's assume for bizarre reasons that Quark is the murderer. He murdered the old woman, took her bracelet, put it on himself. No, that wouldn't add up at all. Because Dio admitted to killing the old woman. Never mind, that was a dumb theory. Moving on.
Why?
How should I know?
Presumably, it had been taken off before we found him.
So we have no idea where it is.
Pretty much.
I see. That's not good. Without that bracelet, we won't be able to continue the game.
What?
We need 3 bracelets to open the secondary door. If we lose one...
Oh no! We wouldn't be able to go through the secondary door!
Yeah.
Who would be pairing up with Quark?
Quark's bracelet should be a red solo. That would mean he'd be with the cyan pair.
Who's the cyan pair?
Clover and Tenmyouji.
Of fucking course it is.
The 2 people who are missing.
Well, I mean, that's one less problem then?
Quark's bracelet is gone, and his 2 teammates have disappeared.
What's going on? Does that mean Clover and Tenmyouji took the bracelet?
Well, if they found Quark before you did, yeah, there's a good chance they did.
I mean, I guess. Then why aren't they back yet?
Perhaps they've already gone through the white door.
Or Clover murdered. No, because the door isn't open yet. It has to wait 50 more minutes. What? No, that's not possible. The primary doors haven't even opened yet.
Perhaps someone opened one of them.
How?
I don't know. But it's happened before.
It has?
Remember the 3 doors on the other side of the green door?
Oh, yeah.
Someone made one of them open. Perhaps this is the same thing.
But that's against the rules!
Yes, I know. But if the person opening the doors is Zero Senior, do you really think the rules matter? Zero Senior controls the entire game.
So are you saying Clover or Tenmyouji is Zero Senior?
It is a possibility. It would explain why they still haven't shown up.
Could they really have taken Quark's bracelet and gone through one of the white doors?
If they did, you won't know where they were until the doors open for the rest of us. Where they went, rather.
So I would assume.
Well, shit. This is still just speculation, though. Maybe we should go look for them again. One of us can stay behind so that we don't miss them if they come back. Yeah, but if we do that, then they're at high risk of murder.
Okay. I'll stay.
Okay.
Sigma and I will go see if we can find them then.
Yeah,
Make sure you get back 5 minutes before the door opens, alright?
gotcha.
Oh, and don't forget to bring Dio with you.
Fair. Of course. I mean, he's probably gonna be mad at us, and we're gonna have to fucking hold him. Pantry? Why are we looking in the pantry? Shouldn't we have grabbed Dio first if we're gonna take Dio with us? This is the pantry? Yeah, it doesn't really look like a pantry.
So it would appear.
Well, it looks like they're not here.
When we started looking for Quark, they were sent off to search everything beyond the red door, which would have meant this room.
Right. Not gonna do us any good to hang around here, though. Let's head upstairs.
Very well.
Lounge. No one here either, huh? Tenmyouji loves scotch so much I thought we might find him here drinking some. I mean, it was really our only lead. I don't blame Sigma. It was around that time that I noticed Kay was acting strangely. He was staring at the shelf of alcohol in a way that probably would have been described as blankly, if I could have actually seen his eyes. Hey, what's up? You want a drink?
Oh, no. Well, I would enjoy a drink, but this mask.
Right. Sorry, that sucks. Honestly, I'd gotten so used to the suit, I'd kind of forgotten you were wearing it. Why the heck they make you wear that thing anyway? Still don't remember any. You still don't remember anything?
Well, actually, I did remember a little.
Well, that's good. It's better than nothing. Really?
Yes.
What did you remember?
My father.
Okay. What? When, Dad, you remember that? Do you think he means when did you remember that? Did it just pop out of nowhere?
Please, don't joke.
Oh, okay, it was a joke. It was a really shitty joke, though. I thought it was a typo.
This is serious.
Sorry. So you remembered who your father was?
Yes.
What about your mom?
I don't seem to have one.
Are you actually a robot? Oh. So your dad raised you? I mean, that's another possibility. I just assumed, I don't have a mom at all. I have a father. And I'm a robot. That's what I was expecting to come of that, but that's irrelevant. Moving on.
Well,
Kay stopped for a moment, then calmly folded his hands in front of him. Yeah, let's talk about your memories while we're looking for people. It's fine. We'll just sit here in the lounge and wax poetically.
I was raised in the facility where my father worked.
In a little robot suit. Holding a rabbit, I guess.
He was the only person who worked there, which meant he was the only person I saw until I was older.
That's weird.
That had been the situation for as long as I could remember, though, so I never thought it odd.
He wouldn't allow me to go near him while he was working. Oh, no, that's him. He wouldn't allow me to go near him while he was working. But the only time he wasn't working were the times when he was sleeping. As such, the only communication I had was with the education software he had given me. I suppose I was a fairly expressionless child then. We developed body language to communicate with others, and with no one else to communicate with, I suppose it makes sense. Once I had learned to read and write, I began to realize that my situation was not normal. Many of my books mentioned a mother as part of a family, and in several, the mother, father, and children would eat meals together and talk to one another. Soon, I found myself longing for a mother of my own. Someone who would always be with me, who would scold me if I did something wrong. At night, they would read to me before bedtime. Only I had a mother like that. I thought I would be so happy. So for the first time in my life, I asked my father for something. He'd finished working and, as usual, was making his way towards his bedroom when I stopped him and asked him for a mother. He looked at me silently for a long moment before finally responding. Okay. I remember to this day how happy I was at that moment. A few moments later, he called me into his laboratory. It was the first time he'd ever done anything like that. My heart was beating quickly as I stepped inside. Standing next to him was a young woman, and my hopes soared. But when he said her name, or rather, her ID number, they were dashed. He had given me a robot to play the part of a mother. I didn't want a mother that was just a machine who did what a human told her to do. When I told my father that, he looked surprised for the first time in my life. Then he frowned, coughed, and admonished me for being a whiner. He had never scolded me for anything before. At first I was surprised, then angry. Hot tears streamed down my face. My father ordered the robot to take care of me and shoot us out of his lab. The robot was very convincing, and she smiled and spoke as if she was a real person, but I refused to answer her and locked myself in my room. You can talk to a robot and it will respond. But in the end, you're still talking to a machine, not a person. If that's what I wanted, I still had the education software that my father had given me. When I ignored the robot as it tried to care of me, I It looked sad. Couldn't really be sad, of course. It was only programmed to look that way. A robot's facade of sadness didn't mean anything to me. After that, I stopped expecting anything from my father. We'd never really spoken to begin with, so it was easy enough for me to make sure we never saw one another. I lived my life as he did, as if he didn't even exist. Perhaps it seems strange to you that I continued to live with him, but I never considered leaving. Perhaps in the hidden depths of my heart, I longed for a relationship with my father. Everything changed when I was 18. I left my room one morning to find a woman standing outside of it. She was the first human I'd ever seen, apart from my father. I was understandably surprised. For a moment, I thought my father had created a new robot, but when I told her that, she laughed and explained that she had come to help me. As it turned out, she was a very mysterious person. She was much older than I was, but something about the way she behaved was almost girlish. She would tell me stories about the world outside in such a way that I was never sure if she was telling the truth or making up fantastic lies. Ultimately, though, the truth didn't matter. I loved her stories. She wasn't helping my father directly with his research, so I spent most of my days with her. Before long, I discovered she'd known my father when he was young. She told me stories of how he'd fallen in love with a younger man, and I began to imagine the person that he'd fallen in love with had been her, and that she was, in fact, secretly my mother. After she settled in with us, our long-established routine began to change drastically. First, we started to eat together. Before then, I had never shared a meal with anyone in 18 years. She scolded me for my table manners, or more accurately, the lack thereof. If I was going to eat with others, she said, I would need to be more polite. Having eaten alone for my entire life, manners had never been something I'd even thought about. My father got in trouble too when he made the mistake of reading through research papers during dinner. The look of surprise and embarrassment on his face made me burst into laughter. I couldn't remember the last time I shared a laugh with my father. It might have been the first time. The room we considered our living room changed too. Before it had just been another room, but she made it comfortable. After we finished our dinner, I would sit on the sofa and relax with her and my father. Those times were the ones I cherished the most. For a little while, every day I got the family I'd longed for ever since I was a child. At her suggestion, I started to help with my father's research. He specialized in genetic engineering, and I discovered I had an interest in it as well. Time faded away and I lost myself in research. Now that we were working and studying together, my father and I had a great deal to talk about. For the first time in my life, we began to speak with one another like a father and son. Whenever I impressed him with something I learned, I felt a surge of happiness, and it drove me to study even harder. My days felt full, bright, and meaningful, but most importantly, I was happy. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye, until one day I happened to overhear my father and the woman speaking in the laboratory. Their tone was serious, so I listened closer, curious to know what they were talking about. That was when I heard her say that she planned to give her life to achieve their goals. It was clear she wasn't being metaphorical. She would have to die. I was in shock. The research I had thrown myself into would lead to her death? I asked my father to stop his research immediately. He refused to listen. She agreed with him. She told me that she had been prepared for what she had to do since the day she came out to our facility. My father had known about it from the beginning as well. Angry and disappointed, I began to investigate what exactly the research had been helping. I'd been helping with was working toward. Perhaps, I thought, I could figure out a way to keep her alive. I discovered much more than I'd bargained for. To begin with, I learned that the ultimate success of my father's research would require a good deal of sacrifice. And I also learned that my own existence was just another part of his project. I had been created to function as my father's spare. Oh my god, he's a clone. If he died during his research, I was intended to continue in his place. I was stunned. I was furious with my father and with her, and even with the research I had poured myself into for 4 years. There was only one thing to do: destroy the facility and end my father's horrible research once and for all. I had made plans to destroy the main reactor, and with it, the entire facility. But she saw right through me. My father was livid, and locked me in my room until his research was complete. All I could think of was how I might stop him. She did her best to convince me that I'd misunderstood, that everything would be fine. As much as I wanted to believe her, I remembered at the back of my mind that she had been the one who pushed me to become involved in my father's research. Had that been an earnest desire to give me something to do with my life, or... Still, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. She had given me a reason to live. Even if she had conspired with my father to mold me into his replacement, the warmth she'd shown me had been real. She made me feel as I had a real family. And that was something I wouldn't have given up for the world. I pleaded with her to leave, but she quietly shook her head. There was something very special to her, she told me. He had saved her life once, and she felt her death would help repay the favor. She would have liked nothing more than to marry him and live a happy, normal life together, but she couldn't. For his sake, she said. For the sake of the future she had wanted. She was determined to see my father's research succeed. I realized then that although she was the most important person in my life, there was something more important than me and hers. She tried to explain that beyond what we could see was a future where no one would have to die, but I refused to listen. What good was a potential future to me? It was what I had now that I wanted. I couldn't stand to think that she could give her life for a man I'd never seen. So I shut myself off from the world. Perhaps that is why I lost my memory. Damn. Kay let out a deep, tired sigh.
I'm sorry. I lost track of time.
It's okay.
Not having any memories is less than desirable, but it could be argued that regaining them is almost more taxing.
So you remember almost everything?
No, the details are still indistinct, especially more recent events.
Huh?
Sigma, I'm sorry, but would it be alright if I laid down for a bit?
What's wrong?
I don't feel very well. It must be because I remembered so much so quickly. My head feels like it's going to explode.
Are you okay?
Yes. I think I just need to rest.
Okay. Take as long as you need. As long as it's within the 50 minutes that we have. I'll go look for Clover and Tenmyouji myself and probably get murdered.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I mean, I get it, Kay. But, I mean, I guess, technically speaking, we know Dio is locked up, but again, I know what Clover's done in another game, and I don't trust her. Kay lowered himself heavily onto the red sofa in the corner of the room. Well, guess I'd better get moving then. We're gonna have a lot to tell the others. I left the lounge and headed off, but I hadn't gone... What? But I hadn't gone far before I ran into Phi. That definitely seems like a typo. What are you doing? You're supposed to be waiting back in the warehouse.
Yeah, I know. I just decided to go check on you guys. I waited a long time and nobody showed up. Judging by your face, you haven't found them either.
Nope.
Damn.
Yeah.
Where's Kay?
He's in the lounge.
You decided to split up?
Well, not quite. Instead of waiting for my answer, she opened the door to the lounge and walked in.
What's up with him?
I guess he's not feeling too well. He said he wanted to rest for a bit.
Is he alright?
I think so. We should leave him alone right now, though. Remember, there's a real person inside that suit. I'm sure he's just tired.
Tired, huh? How are you feeling?
I have been better. What?
I feel tired just looking at you. Your face is like a week-old sock.
Thanks. Really? Well, I guess I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little exhausted. I mean, all of a sudden waked up trapped in some weird-ass game, and then dead bodies start turning up. Honestly, I'm amazed I've managed to hold on to my sanity for this long. Just about everything here makes absolutely zero sense. The more I try and figure any of it out, the more I feel like my brain's just going to melt and run out my ears. You know what I'm talking about, right? Maybe I should figure out who the killer was, but there's still 100 other questions we have no idea about. Where the hell are we? Why are we even here? What's this whole nonary game thing for? And what is Zero Senior up to? Hell, how about who Zero Senior is? Rabbit said he was one of us, but... Do you think it's Dio?
Who knows?
Besides, we still don't know why Dio killed them. He said he was ordered to do it, but... And there's more, too. What about the old lady? Who is she? What's her deal? Hell, what are any of our deals? I don't know jack shit about anybody here. I don't even know anything about you, Phi.
Are you serious? You can't honestly suspect me, can you?
No, that's not it.
I'm just like you. I was kidnapped on December 25th and brought here too.
We mentioned that we were kidnapped on December 25th to Phi specifically? She trailed off. You heard that, right?
Yeah.
Sounded like some big thing.
It came from the hallway.
Let's go have a look.
There's nobody here.
Maybe they got on the elevator?
Let's try hitting the button. If the door doesn't open immediately, then we'll know the elevator's downstairs.
Yep, they went downstairs.
Thought so.
Let's go. Real quick. Still no! Interesting. I'm gonna have to end this episode soon because we're running on like almost an hour 30 minutes in. You know what? I think this is where we're gonna end the episode. In the next one, we're going to see what that noise was. See you guys then.